I'm Romer. I'm the team lead for Team Dawson, and I'm here to present to you guys Translator, or TranslatXR, which is our product proposal for this class. Cool, so here's a bit of an overview of what we're going to go over in this presentation. So first I'll go through the mind map, which is essentially just kind of like a grouping of some of our initial ideas and our future concepts. And then I'll talk about the target consumers and the business aspect of our app a little bit. I'll go over the rubric targets as per request of the professors. And then we'll go pretty deep into the implementation of our app and what we've got so far. Cool, so this is kind of the mind map that we came up with. I'll kind of follow the user experience path first. Yeah, so it kind of starts out with session joining. It kind of revolves around creating private rooms for the users to join in, either through, or simply through room codes, right? That's our idea. And then following the path downwards, we have user preferences. This is essentially going to be an assortment of settings for our user panel. This deals with things like text size, opacity, text style, stuff like that. And then accessibility. This is kind of a stretch goal area for us. This is where we're hoping to include features for people with visual and audio impairments, things like that, things of that nature. Awesome, and then more on the technical side of the idea tree. Starting with the translation, we obviously have language selection. That's the key aspect of translation, is what language our user wants to see on their panel. And then speech transcription. So an idea that we had for our networking was that sending audio files constantly would be a little bit too impactful. So we decided to ensure that we have speech transcription to ensure that we're sending text over the network as much as possible. And then obviously talks about network traffic as well. And then context inference, this is kind of the expansion on translation that we're working on. And it deals with everything that's not just a simple translation. So emotional analysis, figurative language, and then slang or different specific dialects, right? And this is done through mostly like AI, machine learning models and stuff like that. Oh, so yeah, so now we get to our target consumers. When it comes to translation, I mean, it's a really broad area. So in terms of business, you can really touch upon mostly just international exchanges and educational resources, right? So in terms of international exchanges, this could be like interviews with political figures and different influencers, stuff like that, conferences, networking events, and it also kind of ties into business environments, right? Like board meetings, within the office kind of stuff, check-ins, team collaboration. And then as an educational resource, you obviously have things like language courses and then all the different kinds of social and speech therapies that are out there. Yeah, so moving on to our rubric targets, you can see that there's a lot of them. And up top it starts with hand interactions and controller support. This is obviously going to be how we interact with our user panel. And we also have right below in the menu, we have walkie-talkie functionality. This is something that Jared actually mentioned to us and actually was really helpful in our implementation, which is essentially like a button that the user can press, which enables them to talk and write. And we have a signal that you're recording yourself and whatnot. For our API integration, the boys will talk a little bit more about that in a bit, but essentially we set up a custom endpoints that allow us to transcript, translate, and eventually context inference. Multi-user is, of course, the private sessions conversation is a multi-user experience, and we're hoping to have, obviously, a two-way interaction in our app. Like Jose mentioned before, we're completely in the pass-through space. We're not planning on doing any virtual environment kind of stuff. So yeah, so right now we're completely in the pass-through space, sorry. And then spatial anchors is something that we're gonna try to use. Like Jose said, we don't want the wall clipping the user's box. We wanna make sure that other users can see that the user is staring at their box, or panel, I should say, and things like that. Obviously, persistent user displays is what we put there. Fantastic, so I think we can go to the next slide. And then this is where we can kind of get into the nitty-gritty of our implementation, and I will kind of leave into the hands of the rest of the group. First, we'll go into how we did our API integrations, and then the networking chaps will talk, and then the UX UI boys, and then I'll come back in for the collaboration tools and our demo video.
Cool. So I'm Armando. I was working on the APIs with Cornell and Jose. So we decided to go with Python for the overall API implementation. We used UVcorn and Fast API, and we were hosting it on a Linux server. We also used Fast API because it helped us with automatic documentation, so the rest of the team gets to see how to use the API. We also get to test the API endpoints through that remote documentation. As for the rest of the APIs that we're using, the third-party APIs would be OpenAI Whisper for the transcription, DeepL API for the translation, and Google Cloud AI for transcription and translation. So we have not yet implemented Google Cloud AI's API, but it will be assisting in the future with Whisper and DeepL API. And also for the context and emotional analysis, we're using Hugging Face machine learning models. Jared just asked Carl what is the most difficult part of our project, and for sure it'll be the context. The reason behind that is because there's not that many machine language models for other foreign languages. There's mainly English support, so that is one of our challenges. And a potential solution to that would be to explore more open source models. Another thing is that we have lengthy processing times. So Romer explained that we are mainly using or transcribing before sending over, and that really helped with our processing times. Our main concern is privacy as well, but I mean, we're using cloud APIs, so where's the privacy there? But anyways, the end-to-end encryption is a possible solution. It'll just make the networking team very mad at us, but you know. And also the cost of the APIs. That's another limitation that we have. And our possible solution is the open source models and hosting them on our own servers. Great, I'll pass it over to the networking team.
My name is Dawson. This is Mason. We're going to be in charge of the networking side of our app, basically connecting multiple clients together, as well as allowing the transfer of data between the two. So for our demo and possibly going forward, we are using Normcore as the main library to assist in the networking. Normcore is great because it allows very easy room setup. I mean, you literally plug in a real-time script into there, and long as the two clients have the same app key, the same room, they're able to connect to each other. Super simple. It also allows us to sync custom data across. This is usually primitive data, such as strings, integers, booleans, and stuff like that. So it allows us to easily get notified whenever there's a new update that another client has pushed out to everybody. So that way we can update any views or anything that they need on their side. And then we are obviously going to have more functionalities that will be utilizing the networking, possibly voice chat between the clients as well, maybe if they're like virtual, but that's pretty much the benefits of Normcore. However, I'll let Mason talk about some of the limitations.
Yeah, so doing the research of Normcore, we found out that Normcore only lets you send data, like really simple data, like strings or maybe variables. So we talked about maybe we will do some research about Photon, maybe try to send more complex data between different users, and also maybe eventually hosting our own if this goes on. And another thing about Normcore is right now we have it set up, it detects the changes. So if you speak the same sentence twice, it won't pick up. So we will try to figure that out with Normcore later on.
All right, my name is Jared, and this is Carl. We're on the UI UX team, and we're going to be walking through what the UI and the user experience is going to look like as we're going through the app. So once the application is launched, you're going to be greeted with this first screen here. So in that greeting field, you enter your name, and you're going to create your language profile. So that includes your name, and then there's going to be a little drop-down menu for your language selection. And then from there, you either create a room or you join a room from an existing code. And then I'll pass it off to Carl to talk about what that looks like after you do that.
This will be the main panel that the user will be able to interact with. It'll be like a grabbable object. If they created a room, the room code will be up there. And over here will be the main chat area where the translated text will appear. So right now, since this is from like Dawson's view, he's got in English, and Mason, the assumption is that he's speaking in Chinese and it's being translated onto here. And here you hold to record yourself, and then it will transcribe it into this, and you can confirm it. Right now, since we haven't really figured out the contextual side, the emoji is just there to indicate that we will have a way to look at the mood of the message. So right here, he's surprised, orange costs 3 pesos. And right here, the gear icon, that just goes to the settings. Those are the only ones that I could think of right now, but there will probably be more in the future. Yeah.
Fantastic. So yeah, appreciate you guys. Yeah, so I'll speed run through this. This is really simple. We're using GitHub projects for most of our collaboration tools for our project board and our assignments, and we mostly talk through Discord. It's pretty obvious. Yeah, and then we have a demo for you guys. Obviously, just for some context, it's not in the pass-through space, but these are text mesh pros, so getting them into the pass-through space wouldn't be too difficult, we think.
On the left side, I'll be speaking. I think I chose Spanish for the left side and then English for the right side. So right now, you can see on the bottom it said recording, and I sent audio in Spanish, and it should be processed.
Sound is available.
There we go. It went into Spanish, and then it'll show up as English on this side. And then I'm recording right now, as you can see by the bottom left.
And so you're recording in English on here?
Yeah, English on here. So you see it comes up as, hey, good morning, great to see you again. And on the left side, it'll come up in Spanish. With hola, buenos días, me alegro de verte de nuevo. And again, we're recording on the Spanish side, the left side.